Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I'm a Western astrologer and twin flame channel. And this is a video about the Capricorn new moon taking place on December 30th at 5:26 p.m. Eastern. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, definitely check a time zone converter for your local time. This will be the update for the Divine Counterpart Soulmate Twin Flame Collective. Another exciting new moon, and this is our last lunation together before we cross over into 2025. So I want to make sure that I say thank you for rocking out 2024 with me. It's been an honor to be a part of your journey and to have you be a part of mine, and a pleasure to be able to serve you with this information in any way that it has supported you. There are some family readings available with a savings of 40% off. If you'd like to take advantage of that, the way to do that is to go to my website under relationship readings. Link is below this video. And in the community section is the code, and you'll be able to use that until 11:59 p.m. Eastern on December 20th. We also will do some live mini readings tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, since the calendar is so fully booked in the remainder of December and January. Wanted to make myself available for those who could not get an appointment sooner and need some support sooner. Link to the live mini reading channel is below this video. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. You'll be the first to know when I go live. This particular new moon in Capricorn, let me just highlight it. There's our new moon. It's bringing a lot of energy of correction. It's bringing a lot of energy of new structure and new order to our lives. We do see this new moon, its dominant conversation with a planetary energy is Saturn in Pisces. There is a sextile. And we also see some asteroidal conversations with Nessus there. And we see Pallas here. And we also see Pholus. Maybe I would say the combo of all of these is really talking about having a look around our lives for an opportunity to solidify a new foundation, turn over a new leaf. Definitely a vibe of New Year's resolutions. I don't know if you make those or don't, but that vibe is certainly here in the air, a sense of becoming new, your life becoming new, my life becoming new, the lives of the people you love and are connected to, establishing themselves in some sort of new direction. Now, whether that newness offers an opportunity to go deeper and look more deeply at a cycle that you've been in that's not working, that would be the fullest component, or to sever from that cycle and step into a life that is sealed off from that. That would be the Saturn Nessus and Pallas energy here. That's going to be a matter of choice for you. Some people need more time with some of the cycles they've been going through, and I'm sure you've seen that among family and friends, where you can see with such clarity where they could make a different decision or need to in order for life to evolve. And simultaneously, they're just not prepared to do it yet. They need more time. They need deeper opportunities to look at what's not working and why it's not working. And let me tell you, 2025, oh, it's going to show it. It will be very clear. Here's what's not working for you to change. So, for those of you who are very clear at this point, yeah, I'm putting some stuff down, releasing some stuff, separating from certain things for my greater good. That's the Saturn sextile, this new moon. A lot of grounded maturity in this energy, which I certainly like to see. We also see square to Chiron up there in the sign of Aries. We see a semi-sextile to Ceres in Aquarius down here. Uh, 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 uh. There's over here, so that's Ceres. Not Ceres, that's Jericho. My apologies, go back. There's Ceres, and so we get this energy of closure and completion. in particular around group projects, which is typically very normal at this time of year, closure and completion around certain projects that or collaborations with others. But for some of you, this may also be indicative of a closure with a significant friendship, because it's just you've outgrown it, they've outgrown it, or one or the other of you might be moving or relocating. Then we see a semi-sextile there as well to Pluto and Aquarius, amplifying that closure energy and self-empowerment energy. We see a square to Makemake there in Libra and sextile to Haumea in Scorpio. All in all, there's a lot of new beginning energy inside of a container of closure. That's the best way I can describe it. And so in every ending, there is also a new beginning. In every closed door, there's also one that is open to you. So where we are in our lives with this energy is really going to be contingent upon, again, I say this a lot lately, seem to be saying this a lot lately, our relationship to change and releasing the status quo for something that's much better. For more information about the structure of this new moon and other planetary energies unfolding at this time, such as a really lovely communication among Venus is having with lots of planets, updates about the Mars retrograde. You'll find that in the Light Worker Energy Update. If you're new here, welcome. Lovely to have you. This functions as a part two to that, where we look at what the divine counterparts happen to be up to at the time this lunation is plotting a demarcation on our timelines. So let's get into where the divine counterparts are. I like to start with Juno, the divine feminine energy. We see her there inside of Scorpio, where she will remain until November of next year, for a nice long Juno retrograde stay. We only get those roughly every other year, every 18 or so months. And next year is going to be one of those years. And so we see her there in Scorpio taking a transformational journey. Scorpio is our sign of death and ending and alchemy, and then resurrection and rebirth. And so she is in communication via semi-sextile with Mercury here. This is going to open up a lot of consciousness and connection with truth almost intuitively, and an ability to not see truth, speak truth, hear truth from other people. I'd be very careful if, anyone is planning on fudging the truth at a moment like this with somebody who anchors a lot of divine feminine energy. They're going to know. Whether you intend for them to know or not, uh, this kind of energy is very truth seeing for those who have a lot of divine feminine energy. And we all have it. Some of us have more than others, just depending upon what we're here to do in terms of learning or leading. But in this energy in the divine feminine fields is a lot of truth. Also, a real recognition of like, what is the end goal? What's the result? Where do I want to go? The divine feminine energy is hosting a lot of no BS in the collective. And I've certainly seen that with my clients as we've come toward this lunation. We definitely see Saturn enhancing that communication with Saturn trine the divine feminine. Saturn really wants to restore her wholeness, restore her integrity, restore for her the ways in which she's meant to operate there in Scorpio by cutting off or removing the things that would cause her harm. Because Saturn is out here in Pisces, for some, this could be a little bit of shadow work, soul work, spiritual work, burnout. You may be recognizing, okay, I gotta back up out of this because I'm using this as a safety place instead of finding my way into the world, finding my way into the material, the 3D. For others, you may find that this is an energy that shows itself as really separating you from Piscean habits and behaviors or Scorpionic habits and behaviors that don't serve. Certainly, substance abuse, I would say, shows itself here. Also, activities that have to do with secrets or financial misuse or abuse, um, and escapism. These sort of tendencies, Saturn is really trying to help weed those out of the divine feminine energetic fields collectively so that the divine feminine can be in a stronger place next year. Now, for those of you who are more anchored in the third dimension in some format of union, you may really see union energy start to take hold in the third dimension. You may be doing things like connecting with your counterparts, family or father figures, or setting up structure and boundaries around your connection so that it's very clear to other people where the two of you stand, and there's security around the connection as well, empowerment for the connection. We certainly see Saturn have that kind of conversation and Juno have that conversation when they are in harmony. So that's a way that this could play out for those who are experiencing proximity to union. We've got a square to Cheroclo here for the divine feminine energy. Cheroclo is in the sign of Aquarius. This can make it very difficult to feel like you can access your blessings, because we also see a square to Venus as well there in Aquarius and an opposition to Uranus. Typically, when we have an energy that is a T squaring energy in the chart, it opens up a lot of tension in the areas of life that the planets are in, and based on what the planets are represented by or representative of. We see certain friendships here in Aquarius, collectives and groups we belong to. Taurus, we see our values, self-worth, and self-esteem. And Scorpio is our own internal nature. Uranus, speaking to both Juno, the divine feminine, and Venus, can make it very difficult to feel like we can access things that are valuable to us. And so, in the divine feminine energy fields, this may be an amplification of the inconjunction between Juno and Jupiter. The inconjunct is what we as astrologers call a no conversation. The divine counterparts are locked into a position of lack of harmony until middle of next year. At that point, Jupiter edges into Cancer, and we start to see an energy of greater harmony begin to get restored to the connection. But these periods of lack of harmony really give us an opportunity to distill our inner divine masculine and inner divine feminine and upgrade, up level them so that in the connection, we have greater opportunity to work together in harmonious ways when they come back into a union-based energy, trying the sextile for the astrologers out there. Now, what's interesting about this as well is that because of the opposition to Uranus and then the square to Cheroclo Venus, it really forces us to land in our sovereignty out here in Leo, because there's no luminary body in the fixed sign of Leo. We get the opportunity to lean into that as a solution to the tension that's in the air. Leo really talks about our creativity. Leo is all about the energy of self-sovereignty. And this little period of time is going to give us the chance to take a look at reclaiming, reintegrating, nurturing our inner child. And for those of you with actual children, to really place a lot of attention, focus, and value on your relationship with them as we close out the year. This combination and configuration will also showcase for you, again, like I said, some of you could really be having some epiphanies about either spiritual fatigue or shadow work fatigue, and where you really want to, again, come into this lighter, leonine energy Give yourself the opportunity, self-nurture, self-care, feed yourself, build yourself back up. What's beautiful and wonderful about you and how far you've already come on this journey, how much you've already grown. Self-acknowledgement will really go a long way as we close out this year. I know there are some of you who in your connections have seen a lot of movement, no movement, spiritual movement only. Those who identify in separation and those who identify in some form of union. You've repeated cycles, you've broken cycles, you've taken new steps, you've backslid into other like old situations. This combination through the divine feminine energy field speaks to a need to see the tension going on, perhaps in connection, some of the epiphanies and intuitive hits with Uranus opposite the Juno, and step into where can I pat myself on the back for how far I've come as we close out this year. Give yourself that acknowledgement, give yourself that break, that kudos. It's going to go a long way in building up the divine feminine energy fields and yourself as a person before we come into the thick of the Juno retrograde, which will that is going to have enough shadow work. You can give yourself this little reprieve if you have space and opportunity to, and really feed and invest in some opportunities to feel good. The Juno retrograde will be upon us before you know it in the spring, and continue our regularly scheduled programming. I say that facetiously. But I think those of you who really do engage in a lot of deeper spiritual transformational work understand what I'm getting at there. Okay. There is, interestingly enough, a bit of a yod going on in this chart, which I don't often see or talk about, but because it's a yod to the divine feminine energy, there's Chiron speaking to her 150 degrees away. There's Jupiter speaking to her 150 degrees away. And here is, sort of this energy of the no conversation between Chiron, which wants to teach, guide, and heal, and Jupiter, which wants to the divine masculine energy. There is this opportunity here, especially for those of you who have been heavily engaged in trying to heal the connection, heal yourself, heal your counterpart. Because there's no conversation between the healer and divine feminine energy, this is a much needed reprieve. It's an opportunity to put down the heaviness, take a small break. Jupiter here on the other side is saying no conversation astrologically, energetically between the counterparts. But where Jupiter and Chiron have a conversation, it actually opens up some union energy for the divine feminine. And what that means and what that looks like is giving yourself the opportunity again. Take stock of how far you've come, how much you've learned, how much you have healed, how much you have grown. See the small steps that have equated to a big journey. Give yourself that acknowledgement and let yourself, that in and of itself is very healing, to be able to see you're not the same person in all the ways you've become a brighter, more enriched, more loving version of yourself. Okay. And those of you who are in the middle of shedding and purging, you too can even see, oh, wow, yeah, I see how some of the stuff I'm releasing, difficult as it may be, I see how some of the stuff I'm releasing is actually lightening up my vibrational load, giving me access to transformation, that's Juno and Scorpio, and giving me access to healing some things that may have been deep-seated, long-term self-esteem, self-worth challenges that have deeply impacted the way I've shown up in connection and community since Jupiter is in the sign that deals with siblings, cousins, and neighbors and small groups. So the more you can give yourself that pat on the back, it actually reharmonizes the divine feminine energy to the divine masculine energy and opens up space for those of you who would like greater communication, you would like greater access to the union energy available. It opens up space for that. So, yeah, kind of a nice high note, a way to harmonize the yod between divine feminine and masculine is to move into that place of self-approval, self-appreciation, and self-acknowledgement as we close out the year. If you'd like any support with that, especially as we move into the early parts of next year, if you're listening to me and you're like, hey, Moon, I can't find a single thing, like I'm really struggling, or if just the very idea of acknowledging yourself just had you burst out into tears, then book a reading. We can look at your chart, look at the date you and your counterpart met. I don't need their chart to acknowledge you. Book that personal reading, and we can look at how the connection has transformed you. And I can, as an outsider looking in, really help bring you into present time with the growth that you've done, the growth that you're presently doing, and how far you've come. Link to do that is below the video. Let's take a look at the divine masculine energy at this lunation. We still see a lot of very interesting conversations that have been with us for a while. We see Jupiter square Saturn, which has been quite sobering for our divine masculine energy, which is nice. It's a very maturing energy. Lets us take advantage of opportunities without, how do I say this? It lets us take advantage of opportunities without letting our eyes get bigger than our plate. And so we can take things on and at a pace and a rate which our humanity can handle. We also see a trine to Makemake and Lilith and Libra down here. For the divine masculine energies, this opens up some real gifting around, again, some of this recognition around how much you've grown, how far you've come. Lilith energy wants to really bring into the divine masculine energetic fields some clarity about what we're not doing in relationship anymore. We also see Shaman's asteroid bringing a similar theme in around growth and where we've been and where we're going. For many, you may even find as we close out this year and step into the holidays, part of the way you recognize your growth is through your counsel in the divine masculine energy of others. You may see people turning to you for advice, for wisdom. As we close out this year, and Jupiter's in very communicative sign, Gemini, siblings, cousins, and neighbors indicated there. Certainly a time of year where we encounter a lot of these people. Air signs, quite communicative, Gemini, and then Libra, where Lilith and Shaman's asteroids sit. You may find that certain people turn to you for insight on their own relationship situations, and that you are that guiding influence, especially with Chiron sextile the divine masculine energy at this time. Caveat emptor here. Chiron's under the influence of Eris. Eris can, for good reason, be a little embittered. Saturn is under the influence of Nessus. Nessus can be a little obsessive compulsive. Little bit of a caveat here. If you are that person in your world and in your communities, and many of us will be as we move through this holiday season, one of the things to pay attention to is to just not project your story, separate your story from other people's experiences. let love lead. Certainly, you've learned a lot, but that doesn't necessarily mean that other people's relationships are structured just like yours. Um, let your learnings be your learnings and give people the opportunity to certainly hear this, like what they can in terms of, hey, I learned this the hard way. Don't do it my way. You don't have to, but this was my situation. Let them hear that without being heavy handed around, you must do it my way in order to get any results. There, you see the difference in the extremes in communication there. So, definitely a way to be of service um, without being smothering, I guess is the way to put that. We see a trine to that Ceres and Chariclo there inside of Aquarius, which by square are also talking to the divine feminine energy. With Chariclo and Ceres speaking to Jupiter, we get an opportunity, like the minute we close something or release something, that's Ceres, the minute we put a period on one sentence, Chariclo opens up an opportunity in communication with Jupiter for the next. So if there's things closing at this time in your divine masculine energy fields, for some of you, this could be a job, for others, a friendship, some goal. For others, moving or relocating, getting into a new neighborhood, right? If there is a closure, especially if that closure hasn't come by your own hand, it's circumstantial in some capacity or driven externally. This configuration is letting you know there is another open door for you. Let yourself grieve and release what's done, but then step forward. There is an opportunity available right around the corner, but we miss it if we get stuck clinging to looking backwards. Okay? Very beautiful energy in our divine masculine energetic fields. Overall, this does make for a lot of busyness in the connection for the individuals. You may even feel it. I've talked a lot on this channel. For those of you who are new, you'll be seeing this for the first time, but I certainly have drawn this image before. There's you, there's them, but then there's a frequency that is the frequency of the connection itself. And the frequency of the connection itself is what calls you, speaks to you, provides intuitive hits. It's your energy and their energy as a blend. And so, because there's a lot going on in their field, a lot going on in your field at this particular time, a lot of grace will be helpful, a lot of mercy, a lot of forgiveness, but also recognizing, you know, just like you're growing through a lot, so are they. But what you're growing through right now will really serve to widen this space between you and them, the union space. So, for those of you who are in some form or identify in some form of separation, you may find that as we move through the holiday season, the separation does seem to widen, especially sort of in the first several months of the year with Jupiter and Juno in conjunct. For those of you who identify in some form of union, you may find that your individual lives, separate from your connected life, may have some level of things you both need to deal with. Certain family members, unique to your individual family sets, job or work related issues if you don't work together, certain ambitions that are going to get born through this period of time that, the connection is certainly a platform or a catalyst for, but are unique to the individuals in the connection. As these things start to formulate, one of the best ways to utilize this inconjunct energy between Juno and Jupiter in the first 6 months of the year is spaciousness, curiosity through the divine masculine energetic fields, and transformation through your divine feminine energetic fields. Okay. Like I said, things do look like they lock into far more harmony as we get into uh, the middle of 2025 for a short period. And that's a great time to recalibrate and reset vibrationally. But if space has opened up, one of the best things I've seen people be able to do when space opens up is to not take it personal. Don't let yourself get into a rut around it emotionally. Definitely take any sort of intuitive hits you're getting, because I'm seeing, especially in the divine feminine energy fields, Uranus speaking to her through opposition, and also even the divine masculine energy fields, Uranus speaking to him through semi-sextile. Lots of insights and intuitions will come through from the connection itself that will help you understand what's happening, why it's happening, and where you're at in your journey. Again, if you could use some help decoding some of those things, or you'd like some validation for your intuition, you can always book with me over at kmoonastro.com. Link to do that is below the video. Personal reading can really help you see what your connection needs from you now in order to move it forward, whether you're in some format of communication or union or not. Happy New Year, guys. It's been an honor and a pleasure to continue working with each of you and creating with you. For those of you I got to read for this year, thank you so much for trusting me with your charts and your connection. I sincerely and truly hope you found it empowering, that you have far more freedom and choice than, one might believe. But then you also can, with great power comes great responsibility. We do get the chance and opportunity through these lunar updates to use it wisely. I love you guys so much, and I can't wait to check in with you for our first lunar update of 2025. Take great care, and bye for now.